analysis. There are different types of factor analysis. We are going to discuss the different methods of factor analysis. Exploratory and confirmatory factor analysis we are going to discuss, and methods of exploratory factor analysis also we are going to discuss. And then structural equation model, which is usually prepared by using AMAS. AMAS is a statistical software and it stands for analysis of a moment structures. Okay, analysis of a moment structure, which means it helps us to understand interrelationship among the study variables. Usually we will be interested in, it's like your decision tree where this leads to this, this leads to this, this leads to this. Finally, what is happening? So if you are having a lot of study variables, what is the impact of one variable on the other variable, that we can understand. And relevant business decisions can also be taken based on our research. It is an interesting model, and that one we are going to discuss today. Today, I would like to start with regression. Regression is a set of statistical methods which is usually applied to measure the relationship among variables, right? What type of relationship that is there in a particular study set. Generally, what type of relationship will be interested in analyzing? We will be interested in understanding what is the impact of what is the percentage of influence of this variable on the other variable. There are something I used to give them general simple classroom examples, like assume a kid wants to buy something. Okay, the level of pressure he can put on his mother will be entirely different to get his work done, and the level of pressure he can put on his father can be entirely different, right? Whatever may be the end result, the percentage of influence a person or a variable can have will vary from one item to another item, right? So what is the percentage of influence of different variables that we are going to discuss in terms of regression? Regression is a statistical tool which is used in various disciplines, especially in finance. You can measure what is the impact of change in rate on the investment decision of the people, or any new thing that is introduced by the government. What is the impact of that? New tax regime introduced by government. What is the impact of that on the saving habits of the people? Or you can do a lot of analysis. What is the influence of this on this, that we can measure? So that will help many of us to take a lot of decision. In terms of regression, we have to be clear with independent variable and dependent variable. Independent variable is a variable which is free from any kind of influence. Something like usually your demographic variables, or there are certain items which are independent, which are free from any kind of influence. Dependent variable is your study variable where it depends on something. For example, your decision to buy a residential apartment, let us assume. It depends on your income. It depends on the area of geographical area, whatever you are deciding, that depends on your schooling or your office and your kids' education and future scope for development in that particular area. There are a lot of other factors or variables that are considered, right? The selection of a place or selection of a residential apartment is a dependent variable that depends on a lot of other criteria. Therefore, wherever we have certain factors in our study, which depends on something, that is known as our dependent variable. So you have to be clear. The researcher had to be clear with what is an independent variable and what is a dependent variable in a study. Only based on a dependent and independent variable, our entire research analysis will be there. Okay. So here today, I'm going to do a demonstration on using regression in SPSS. Regression, these are all the steps in the process of applying regression in SPSS. We will go to analyze, where we have to choose regression and we have to choose linear regression. And these are all the steps. We are going to apply that in SPSS now. I'm moving on to my SPSS. Yesterday, I was sharing about one of my paper. That paper was about factors influencing gold purchase. I'm using those variables for my discussion today. So open your SPSS. Sorry, all these are taking time. I've already loaded all my data here. Yesterday I tried and I kept everything ready for our discussion. So it will only be few minutes. So this is one of the common technique where we will be interested in analyzing the influence of one variable on the other variable. So be careful with this. And for your own study, you have to understand what is the dependent variable. You have to define your dependent and independent variable clearly. Only then you will be able to have clarity on what you want to prove. I'm going to discuss two of my papers today. This paper is on factors influencing gold purchase behavior of respondents. Okay, so I have taken these variables. For the benefit of the audience, I will start from scratch now. From your Excel, export these data. Go to your Excel file. So I have kept all my data here. We are going to measure the level of influence of a variable on another variable. I'm taking factors influencing purchase of gold and marital status. This marriage has an influence on the purchase of gold buying. I have prepared a model like this. You can see with your so yesterday we have learned about this particular paper. In this paper, I had three type of factors: economic factors, conjectural factors, and conspicuous factors, right? These are all the three factors that emerged out of my factor analysis. I have applied regression to find out the impact of marital status. Yesterday, while applying chi-square, we understood marital status has an association with respect to the investment decision of the respondents, right? So this regression helps us to go in-depth analysis to find out which factor is getting influenced predominantly, so that you can concentrate on that particular attribute or aspect alone. Okay, so this is the finding that we will discuss. So you can have some models prepared like this. So you want to measure the relationship between these two variables, the level of influence of this variable on the other variables, study variables. Okay, so what are all the factors we are considering? We are considering two items here: marital status and factors influencing gold buying behavior. I have applied factor analysis already and I have kept the results here. So we will have marital status and factors. So when applying your regression, go to your analyze. In analyze, choose regression. Listen here, analyze, choose regression. In regression, we will be applying in social science research, we will be applying linear regression. Okay, what is our dependent variable? Dependent variable is your these factors, right? So factors influencing. So you have to choose those factors are there in the study. There are three factors, right? So choose. While applying regression, you have to do this analysis for each and every variable separately. Okay, so this is the marital status related information. Take both the information and then go to your statistics. In statistics, you have to just click your estimates and model fit. With that, you can proceed. And then your plots, you have to choose where do you want. In case if you want some information, you can choose that. Otherwise, go to your save. How do you want to save the information? The level of confidence that we have to give. The confidence level, we have to click. Only then we will be able to get that. Select that. And then in your options, whatever option you want to give, your probability, removal of items which are having less than 0.1. So those details, if you want, you can give. And with that, you can proceed with your analysis. Just give OK. You'll get your result. Okay. Now I'll move on to my PowerPoint slide to show you the steps once again. In case of your regression, you have to try the regression model for each and every factor separately. You can't be combining all the factors. The steps involved in choosing or applying SPSS is go to your analyze, choose regression, and then you have to choose linear regression. And then in define, you have to define your independent and dependent variable. Here, independent is marital status. Marital status is not influenced by anything in this particular study, whether my respondents are married or unmarried. Okay, only that information that is not influencing anything. Okay, and then dependent variable here is I would like to find out whether marital status has an influence on gold buying behavior of the respondents. Okay, so dependent variable is this. And then under statistics model fit, you have to choose the level of significance and then continue. You have to continue. You will have these slides. These screens will appear. You have to check these screens and then your results will appear like this. This is what is shown here in your results slide. For each and every factor, when you are measuring, your results will appear like this. This is the result sheet, output sheet. So let us now move on to my PPT to see how to interpret this. So this is significant. What to measure, to find out whether there is association, whether the regression model is fitting or not, we will only be considering the level of significance, 0.000. So which is significant. So this particular first factor has an influence. Marital status has an influence. To interpret the results, we need the correlation. R value we need. R value is 0.197. So these two factors we have to consider. And let us see how to interpret it. Now we will move on to the next set of variables in the study. Next set of variable is the second factor. The second factor here is, we have three factors, right? So the same model, apply the same model to find out your results. The results are appearing like this. With the second model, your significance level is 0.100. Okay, which is more than 5%. Therefore, our inferences, there is no association between marital status and the second factor in the study. And then the same thing I have applied with the third model, third factor. With the third factor, the p-value is 0.059. So 5 and more than 5. Okay, anything more than 5, we will reject, right? So, so even for the second factor, the regression model is not fitting. So what is the conclusion? Conclusion is marital status has an influence on consumption or buying gold for economic benefit. Yesterday, while discussing about my particular paper, factors behind purchasing gold is classified into three categories. Based on my respondents and based on my study, we have identified there are three reasons for purchasing or investing in gold. First reason is economic consumption. People consume gold for economic benefits, value for money. If I'm getting some discount or benefit or reduction in the damage or wastages, or the price has come down now. So with these reasons, I would like to get maximum benefit. So people will buy gold for economic reasons. And then there are one category of people who will buy gold for getting short-term benefit. Now the rate is this, it will increase by 2,000 rupees or 3,000 rupees per sovereign. So that will give me some benefit. So to get conjectural consumption or to buy gold for getting some short-term benefit out of it, they will buy. Conjectural consumption is the second category of buyers. And then the third category of buyers, conspicuous consumption. They buy gold to show their prestige, to show off, just something like a hedonic category of buyers. So this is the third category of buyers. So while applying regression, we are able to find out marital status has an influence on buying gold for economic consumption. People, whoever is buying gold based on the benefit that we will get out of investing in gold, only they are buying gold. The others, there's no marital status does not have an influence on the speculative purchases and prestige based purchases. So now you can understand how to apply regression, and in detail you can interpret, and you can also, the p-value is given here, and the R value is also given. With the R values and the P values, you will be interpreting and you will be stating your results. Okay. So in the interpretation is marital status has an influence on gold buying based on economic consumption factor. The other two factors are not influenced by the marital status. That will be our conclusion based on the analysis. Similarly, for any independent and dependent variable, you can apply. But when you are applying for each and every factor, you have to find out, apply like this, and you have to write in detail. And the adjusted R square and the other things, if you can browse YouTube, how to write the interpretation, the YouTube videos, many short videos are there that will help you people to write the interpretation by quoting all the necessary details. But in general, to find out whether the model is fitting or not, these two factors we have to consider. Okay, the P value and the R value. So with this, we can go ahead with our interpretation. Okay, this is how we have to apply regression. Now I'm moving on to factor analysis. Yesterday, I just gave you a small introduction to factor analysis, where we understood factor analysis is a technique which is used to reduce the number of variables in a particular study, right? I have lot of variables in my study, but all these can be grouped together to form a meaningful factor. Okay, that is why we are using factor analysis, right? For factor analysis, I would like to use my another paper. I did a paper on cryptocurrency, behavioral intention, and buyer risk-taking abilities of people who's investing in cryptocurrency, and their risk-taking abilities I wanted to measure. Okay, I have prepared structural equation model also. I am going to discuss that paper, and with that you will be able to understand how to prepare, how to apply factor analysis, and how to confirm the variables or the factors that are arising from your study, and how to prepare a structural equation model also. Those factors I'm going to discuss. So before that, we have to understand how your questionnaire should be. Okay, on the day one, we were discussing about the type of questions we have to ask, right? The questions are the base. Only from your questions, you will be able to go ahead with your further analysis, right? So while in your questionnaire, you should have all these rating scale based questions. Okay, usually all your qualitative information, or the perception based, or behavior based, or attitude based circumstances, whatever data you are measuring, that will be usually rating scale based, right? So sorry, it's getting, I have opened too many files. That is why it is getting delayed. 1 second. So you should have, so it can be, your rating scale can be a 5-point scale, or a 3-point scale, or a 11-point scale. That depends upon your study. Wherever you want to get the good quality or the maximum information from your respondents, you can go in for a 5-point scale. So this will help you to get the information. And when you are framing your questionnaire, also ensure that you are covering all possible of questionnaire circulation. Okay, there are different ways to collect data. You have to use those methods, no other go. And pure research or the right type of information we can give only based on the right type of data. So ensure that you are collecting the right type of data. So these are all the demographic information I have collected. I've collected employment status, where are they working? And I have also collected the type of investments people are doing in general. And then I have asked a question on their level of awareness on digital currency, and the medium through which they have gained knowledge about the digital currency or cryptocurrency. So even that question is there. Those questions I have used for doing some kind of association test, which mode is highly influential, So when you are asking questions, you have to ensure that you are focusing on your objectives, and whatever may be the objective of your study, to get answer to those objectives, you have answer. So you have questions, right type of questions, that we have to ensure. 1 second. I have asked these questions. So sorry, it's getting delayed. I'll go to my these are all my study variables. This is what is there in my questionnaire also. I wanted to find out factors influencing the choice of investment in cryptocurrency, risk-taking abilities of the respondents, and then behavioral intentions. What type of behavioral intentions? Whether they are, these names, whatever is given, all these are based on the slangs that are used in the crypto world or in the digital currency-based world. So based on the reviews, I have identified these names, and these names are appropriately given. All these are the researchers' contribution. So in your study also, when you're applying exploratory factor analysis, you will be naming, and you have to justify giving name for that also. Okay, these are all my study variables. So to find out or to measure factors influencing choice of investment in cryptocurrency, I have used all these variables. Okay, so these variables are there. So now we are going to find out, or we are going to learn how to apply factor analysis. Factor analysis is all this we have already discussed, which is meant for reducing the data and to identify a factor that will represent a group of statements in our study. Okay. So now we will move on to a demo on how to apply factor analysis. I have chosen all these factors. Sorry, these statements are there in the study. There are around 13 statements measuring factors influencing choice of investment in cryptocurrency. I have got 2 factors. I will just show you a demonstration on how to prepare or how to apply factor analysis. Go to your analyze. In analyze, go to dimension reduction. We are reducing the dimension from 13 statements to, it has reduced to 2 factors. 13 statements are used, but these statements are grouped into 2 factors. On what basis these factors are grouping? Based on the relative importance that is assigned by the respondents in this particular study. Based on that, the grouping is done. Okay, based on the respondents' response only, the grouping is done. So we have 13, I'm choosing these 13 statements, first 13 statements in my study. Go to descriptives. In descriptives, you have to choose initial solution. And I'm also choosing KMO Bartlett's test of sphericity. So we have to understand what is initial solution and what is KMO Bartlett's test of sphericity. This KMO-Bartlett's test of sphericity will help you to understand whether the sample size is adequate enough to proceed with factor analysis. I have collected data from 110 respondents only for this particular study because my sample group were those who are investing in cryptocurrency. I found it very difficult to identify the crypto investors. It took around 3 months for me to get the data. There were around 110 people who are investing in cryptocurrency, people known to me from my student side and from others. I have collected data. So with that, I have started applying. So this is the tool that will tell you, this KMO Bartlett's test will tell you whether your sample is adequate enough to proceed with factor analysis. If the adequacy, sample adequacy is being done. Okay. So that is the first step we have to proceed with. So that we have to accept. Okay. And then the second thing is methods. There are different methods. Even here I have mentioned principal component method, image factoring, maximum likelihood method, and common factor method. These are all various methods of doing your exploratory factor analysis. These are all the methods. Principal component method, in case of principal component method, this principal component or the first factor that will be identified by the system. You are giving instruction to SPSS on the method of grouping. How do you want SPSS to group your factors? And in case of principal component method, the first factor will be identified, and then through elimination process, the other factors are emerged or emerging, or the system will generate the other factors based on the relative variance between one factor and the other factor group. Okay. So we are going to discuss factor loading also. That will help you to understand how each and every factor group is unique. Okay. So principal component method is one technique where the first principal or the majority or the common or the very important factor that will emerge first, and then from that the distance between this group and the other groups are formed based on the uniqueness of the other set of variables in the study. And there is something called image factoring, which is based on regression method of least square. It is based on least square regression method. There is something called maximum likelihood method. This is based on the correlation metric between the variables in the study. And there is something called common factor method. This common factor method is all the common factors will be grouped together. That is the method through which you want to group your factors. Okay, these are all the methods. That is what is given here. In general, we will be choosing principal component method. For commerce and social science research, principal component method is the maximum preferred method. So principally one basic group, factor group will be formed, and then through elimination, the other factor groups are formed. That is the method. So we have to give instruction to SPSS, the method that you want to use, and the other things. In case of fixed number of factors, yesterday we were discussing about restricting the factors. If you want to restrict your factor group to 2 or 3, you can give your, you can restrict it. So accordingly, the system will generate. Here I'm not restricting, I'm just leaving it for free. Maximum iterations are convergence. By default, 25 iterations will be there. Depending upon the requirement, if you want the research to be more perfect, you can also increase the iterations depending upon the number of study variables. Okay, so this is about this. And then we have something called rotation. What type of rotation? You want direct doublemean rotation or Quatermass rotation? How do you want your variables to be rotated? Usually we will be using Varimax rotation. And for social science research, this is the most preferred method. And then there is something called score. How do you want your variables to be scored? We will be using Bartlett method, regression or Bartlett, or these are all the methods through which your data will be stored. Depending upon, it's like your tabulation. How do you want your tables to be prepared? So Bartlett's method is one of the most preferred. Display the factors, even that we have to choose. And then we have something called options. So in case of outliers, or in case if there are any missing numbers, so what is the, for missing values, how do you want the system to treat? Usually we can give replace it with mean, or exclude the cases pairwise, or replace it with mean. Replace it with mean is the ideal option that will help you to replace it with the mean score. Here and there, if one or two grids are missing, that can be a negligible item that we can leave. And then sorted by size will help you to sort it out based on the values factor loading. Suppress the small coefficient, where if you want to suppress anything which is having less than 0.5 factor loading, that if you want, you can suppress. So anything more than 0.5 will give you a better result. But in general, if there are any factor which is having least important, that can also be an important study variable for some of the study. Even that we can identify, and that can also be pointed out. Something like I did a paper on factors behind choosing banking job, where job security was one of the predominant factor, right? To my surprise, in foreign banks, that particular variable got least loading, which was less than 0.5, and I had to remove that particular statement also. But I mentioned it in my study because that is one of the important factor, right? For a banking job, people generally choose banking job for security reasons, right? So this is how, based on our instruction, this is how the results will appear. Now we have to understand how to interpret this particular information. Okay. First thing is about your KMO Bartlett test. This is the first step we have to consider. I told you people, this will tell you whether your sample is adequate enough to apply factor analysis, right? Significance level, we have to check. The significance level is less than 0.5. So we can proceed with this. Okay. And then we will also be checking this Kaiser and Mayer's measure of sampling adequacy. This should be more than 0.6. Only then your study is a reliable study. Okay. So anything more than 0.8 is an excellent value. With that, the sample is adequate enough. So this is generated based on the response of your respondents. Okay. So these are all the factor loadings, the statements, however your respondents have given their response. No, based on that, for each and every factor, the factor loadings are given. And this is one statement, one table which explains the total variance in the study. So total variance is nothing but there are, based on the factor analysis for this particular study, 13 statements were grouped into 2 factors. Okay. The difference between the one factor group and the other factor group is explained based on this particular variance analysis, or the total variance explained. The difference, when 2 factors are framed, there should be difference in the factors, right? If there are one and the same, there is no need to do factor analysis itself. All these factor variables are resulting in one particular factor, means there is no need for doing factor analysis itself. Factor analysis will help you to identify how each and every factor is unique. The uniqueness of the factor and the importance of the factor can be analyzed by using this total variance explained table. So the variance, the difference between one factor group and the other factor group is explained here. There's an excellent variation, 32.728 and 26.361. That is the distance between these 2 factor groups. Okay, and then we will have this table called rotated component matrix. So this is the table where your actual grouping of factors or statements are happening. You can see here variable statement number 9. We were discussing about principal component method, right? Principal component method will group the principal or the first or the predominant factor that is emerging out of your study. That is this first factor. Through elimination, whatever is not falling under this particular category, those will be framed as the second category of factors. Okay. So principal component analysis will help you to prepare or group these variables in the study. Variable statement number 9, 11, 10, 14, 12, and 13 and 1 are grouped together. Since we have 10, we have given instruction to arrange it in ascending order or descending order, however you want to give that, accordingly it will appear. Okay. The second group, these are all the factor loadings. Factor loading describes the variance or the uniqueness of that particular statement while comparing it to any other statement. Okay. If the factor loading value is very less, which means it is not a significant item. Your respondents does not feel that particular factor as a statement as an important statement. Okay, that is easily it's a negligible item in your research. That's the meaning of this loading. So anything which is close to 0.8 or 0.7, which means that's a good factor or an important or a valid statement that will help you to form conclusion. Okay, so now I'm moving on to my PowerPoint slide. So what did we do with our factor analysis step? What we are doing exploratory factor analysis here. We are exploring the reasons. My research paper is on investment in cryptocurrency, behavioral intentions and risk-taking abilities of the investors. That is what I am measuring. These are all the objectives of my study. I wanted to identify the factors influencing the choice of investing in cryptocurrency. I wanted to measure the risk-taking abilities and behavioral intentions of the investors. And I also wanted to measure the interrelationship among the study variables. These are all the three objectives in my study. So I am describing about the statistical tools and the other things. All these we have to do while preparing our research paper. This is about the descriptive related information, descriptive analysis. On the day 2, we were discussing about describing the facts in your research. I have applied percentage analysis, simple percentage analysis to find out the demographic details of my respondents. These are all the details. I've given all these details, which will help any person, whoever is reading my article, to understand who are all the respondents, what are all their previous knowledge, and what are all their association with the particular topic, that we can understand. That's the purpose of descriptive analysis. In any paper, definitely we have to describe about the respondents' demographic information. And this is about my factor analysis. We have learned how to apply factor analysis for this particular category of variables, factors influencing choice of investment in cryptocurrency. I've told you people, there are 13 statements in my study, right? Those 13 statements were applied, and this is the value we got from my particular study. Okay, so
ma'am, sorry to interrupt, please show the number 13 slide again.
13th slide. Yeah, so this is about my nature of research. I have described what type of research. I have collected data through snowball sampling because I don't have I was clueless about the people investing in cryptocurrency. One person, whoever is investing in cryptocurrency, helped me to collect data from the other person. They just referred, he is also investing, she is also investing. They referred people, and through one contact, I established contact with the other person, and through that I have collected my data for my research. So this is about my research related information. This is about my descriptive analysis about my paper and the topic. And this is about my factor analysis. I have applied exploratory factor analysis to explore the factors that are influencing investment decision in cryptocurrency. So based on the state factor analysis, these two factor groups emerged. I have named them as going to the moon factor, freedom from control. So what do you mean by this going to the moon? This is one of the crypto slang. That slang implies that people, whoever is expecting very high rate of return, they want to invest 2 rupees and they want to get 2,000 rupees as return without even the particular asset being employed for any productive purposes. Just like that, just by building castles in the air, they want to get maximum benefit. So this is one category of people who are keenly interested in investing in cryptocurrency. So if you can see the variables, all these are low transfer fees, easy transferability, sounds very cool type of investment, anytime global money transfer. So people, whoever is interested, so going to the moon was their expectation. That is how I have named this particular factor. And then there's another factor which also influences people to invest in cryptocurrency, freedom from control. They don't want anyone to track their basic personal details, know your norms. They want freedom from credit scores or their previous falls or any other thing. They don't want that to affect their the current performance or their current level of operation in their investment related activities. Okay, so safety and security involves low risk in investment, no intermediary required, no pressure on KYC norms. Generally, if you're opening a bank account, banker will ask for your Aadhaar card, your reference, and your, except horoscope, they will ask everything. So they don't want people to, in crypto investment, people doesn't want any kind of control. They want freedom from control. That is why they are investing in cryptocurrency. So from my study, these two factors emerged. Okay. So when once factors emerge, through exploratory factor analysis, we will assume this is everything. This may not be everything. We have to confirm whether these variables, whatever is grouping here, conforms to that. And it is perfect correlation for proceeding with further analysis. That is why we will use confirmatory factor analysis also. Okay, so before we proceed, I would like to give you the steps involved in factor analysis. Once again, we will go to analyze. From analyze, we will go to dimension reduction. From dimension reduction, it will go to factor analysis. So I can even show you the slides here. So factor analysis slides. Analyze. From analyze, go to dimension reduction, choose factor analysis. In factor analysis, the first step is this. You will choose your descriptives. In descriptives, you have to choose initial solution, KMO Bartlett test of sphericity. This is to find out whether your sample size is adequate enough to apply factor analysis. And then how do you want to save your variables in Bartlett model or regression model? You can try all these in trial and error method and find out how the variables are formed in tables. And with that, you can decide however you want, you can use that. And then dealing with your missing values. In case if some data is missing, if some grid is not filled by your respondent, how do you want the system to consider that? Replace it with mean, sort it by size, so that the values, whatever is appearing, the factor loading, from highest to lowest, it will appear. Suppress small coefficients or small values. This will help you to eliminate those unnecessary statements which are of negligible relevance with the particular research work. Okay, so this is how your output will also appear. These are all the steps. I'm just repeating it. Analyze. From analyze, go to dimension reduction, factor analysis, descriptives, initial solution, KMO Bartlett test of sphericity, and then in extract and choose principal component method. So from the principal component or principal factor, other factors will emerge. That's the meaning of this. And then scoring pattern. How do you want to save your scoring pattern? Options, replace, sort, or suppress. How do you want to deal with your missing values? And then proceed with your analysis. This is how you will be doing your exploratory factor analysis by using SPSS. Okay, so I have applied the same for the other study variables also. I measured the risk-taking abilities of the respondents in my study based on the variables. I used around 12 statements. There were few negligible statements. I removed those statements. So with respect to risk-taking abilities, I have named my respondents into deliberate risk-takers and adventurous risk-takers. Deliberate risk-takers are those who know about the risk involved in the transaction, and they have previous experience of handling those transactions kind of. And then behavioral intentions. After investing, how they want to deal with their cryptocurrency. Okay. Newbies are the ones they want to use cryptocurrency for everything. There are one category of crypto investors. They are named as crypto maximalist in my paper. Their preference maximum use from crypto. Okay, so that is how they have been named, because of the object behind this particular analysis is to find out their interest in investing in cryptocurrency. Okay, so based on that, I have collected these variables. And whatever factor emerged out of exploratory factor analysis, I have used AMAS to confirm whether the pattern of grouping is perfect. Okay. Confirmatory factor analysis is used to confirm that these statements are grouping. Okay, it is not based on our own influence. It is based on the statistical iterations. So before we proceed with further analysis with these statements, it is the responsibility of the researcher to confirm that these are all the factors, these variables are grouping together. So this is how these variables are grouping together, so that I'm giving an assurance that these factors, whatever emerged out of exploratory factor analysis, are also confirming with the standards, statistical standards, to proceed with further analysis. Okay, that's the purpose of it. So this is how confirmatory factor analysis is applied. So this is applied by using AMOS. AMOS is another, it is also an IBM product. So AMOS graphics that you can open and you can test, you can, AMOS itself is one big ocean kind of software that is also from IBM. By applying for simple papers or for those known variables for which already correlation is existing, with that, if you can apply, you will be able to understand how this particular system is working. Okay, so this is your screen. From your SPSS output only, you have to give your data. That will be the input for this, and your results will appear. If it turns red, which means your study variables are perfectly matching. Okay, so it is entirely a different set of analysis that we are using here today to confirm whether it is matching with our requirement. Okay, so far what did we learn? Today we have learned regression. Regression measures the level of influence of dependent variable on the independent variable in the study, right? Influence of one variable on the other variable. How something can have an influence, what level of influence. If the level of influence is very high, more importance need to be given. Assume to buy a car, what are all the factors? It can be the prestige, or it can be fuel efficiency, or it can be environmental friendly factors, or it can be the price of that also. Okay, 60% to brand, 20% to the other variables, and you can also have, so with that you can find out. So this R value will tell you which factor is getting or gaining predominant importance, the level of influence of that particular factor in your study, that you can find out. And if it is a negligible item, there will not be any association. Even with that, you can find out. Okay, so this is how regression is applied. And then exploring from volume of data, identifying or exploring factors that are emerging in your study. Factor analysis can be applied to confirm your factor. You can also go ahead with using confirmatory factor analysis by using AMOS. AMOS is also introduced by IBM only. So it is an IBM product that is also a user-friendly product. You can use that also to find out the relationship between the variables in your study. So now with this, I'm moving on to the last segment of our discussion. This is about structural equation model. Before we proceed with structural equation model, I would like to find out, is there any doubt or any question in AMOS and regression, I mean, factor analysis and regression? If there are any queries, I will discuss that, and then we'll move on to structural equation model.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon.
Ma'am, I have one doubt. In your study, you have said that economic benefit, speculation benefit, and prestige consumption. So how you have grouped those data, ma'am? Like under economic benefit, you will be having 5 to 6 statements. How we have to group that, ma'am?
Reviews will help. While preparing my questionnaire, I didn't group these factor groups, or I didn't even know about these factors. Based on the reviews, I did a lot of reviews on what are all the reasons for investing in gold. Reviews helped me to identify some 20 to 25 reasons for investing in gold. I have thrown those 20 to 25 statements to my respondents and collected data from my respondents. And then I have applied factor analysis. Factor analysis only grouped these 3 category or 2 category of factors. Okay. So
Okay, ma'am.
based on the grouping, based on the variables that are falling under a particular category, I have named them. So the name that is given by the researcher. It is not, sometimes if it is confirmatory factor analysis, name grouping or the names will be there already, you will confirm it. But here it is, since I have explored, I have given the name. When you are giving the name for that particular group of variables, you should justify that also. The reason for giving that particular name, that should be
Okay.
justified. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
So for
Ma'am,
these, if you
ma'am,
can see for this particular paper, this is the grouping. Through principal component method, factor analysis is helping us to group the statements that are falling under one particular category.
Okay, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, after finding out the factors, we
Hmm.
can use the transform compute variables in order to make it as single one. Transform compute.
Yeah, that you can do if you want to measure the interrelationship. Even that you can do. For example, while preparing your relationship among the variables, linear relationship, if you want to measure, you can use that. Something like this. The linear relationship among the other study variables, if you want to prove, instead of having multiple factors, you will have one factor that you can.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, that depends upon the purpose.
Okay, ma'am.
Any other question from anyone? Okay. Please do explain some structural equation modeling that shows the interrelationship among the variable. When we are doing any research, this leads to this, this leads to this, this leads to this. So what is the percentage of influence of this, or what is the percentage of reliance of this X variable on the Y variable? That should be given, right? So this is one of the tool, a multivariate technique, which explains the causal relationship among the variables. What type of relationship? How one variable is connected with another variable. I'm explaining that with my paper. I've told you people, I have used factors influencing investors to invest in cryptocurrency. There were two factors, right? Going to moon and freedom from control were the two factors, right? So I've just named it as mooning factor, mooning year. And then the risk-taking abilities. There were two types of risk-taking abilities that were mentioned in my study. Deliberate risk-takers and adventurous risk-takers. Deliberate risk-takers are those who know about the risk involved in the transaction, and they have already learned or they have undergone some kind of, they have some positive or negative knowledge, or they've suffered or they have learned some positive or negative experience is there with them. Okay, so when they are taking, they know what is there with them. Okay, deliberate risk takers. And the other category of risk takers are adventurous without even knowing the impact of that. Just like that, expecting some rocketing increase in the price, they will invest. Adventurous risk takers. Okay, and then when it comes to behavioral intentions, how do you want to use your cryptocurrency? I'm a newbie. I want to use it in place of fiat currency. I want to use cryptocurrency. Newbies. And then crypto maximalist, wherever possible, wherever cryptocurrency can be used, I will use it to the maximum possible extent. Okay, that is crypto maximalist. And when finally, are you interested in investing was one of my question. So that is taken as decision to invest. So in my study, what are all the variables? What are all the study variables? Factors influencing investing in cryptocurrency, risk-taking abilities, and then behavioral intention with respect to using of cryptocurrency, and finally, the decision to invest in cryptocurrency. Okay, these are all the variables I have used in my study. By applying AMAS, I found out the interrelationship among the variables. The number, whatever is appearing here, are simply regression R values, relationship between this and this. So when you are giving a final answer to a question on who's investing in cryptocurrency, who's interested in investing in cryptocurrency, what type of behavioral intentions are there. This type of research will definitely be of help to them. Okay, so who are investing, we can interpret this. People who are is expecting mooning as a going to the moon as their reason for purchasing, they will take 42% deliberate risk. And when it comes to adventurous risk, they are taking 49% adventurous risk. Okay. And then when it comes to freedom from control, they take 20% deliberate risk and 26% adventurous risk. And then those whoever is taking deliberate risk, their intention to use cryptocurrency, their newbie influence is 21%. When it comes to freedom from control to newbie, it is only 4%. And then mooning to maximalist, crypto maximalist, if you can see, I have measured the maximum possible without taking risk. If they are without even bothering about their risk-taking abilities, if we are straight away measuring what is their interest. So mooning to newbie is 30%. If you can see, mooning to deliberate risk-taking and then newbie, it is 21%. Straight away, without even bothering about the risk-taking abilities, the relationship is 30. Influence of mooning attitude is 30% on the newbie kind of behavioral intention. And finally, if you can see the interrelationship among the variable, who's investing, the answer is people with going to moon expectation, people whoever is expecting very high rate of return, and those whoever is taking deliberate risk, those who would like to use maximum out of cryptocurrency, their intention to invest in cryptocurrency is 0.45. When it compared to the other category of people, those who is expecting freedom from control, adventurous risk takers, you can also see some kind of negative score here. And then finally, their decision to invest is only 4%. So who's investing? You can give lot of inference can be done from this particular kind of model, and you can write a lot. You can give lot of information to policymakers on who's interested, how are they investing. So that is the purpose of, that is why people are talking about structural equation model, or prepare a model which will give the relationship among the study variables. There should be some kind of relationship among the variables. Otherwise, the interrelationship is not at all considered, right? So structural equation model will help you to give or present the interrelationship that are there in your among the study variables. Okay, this is about structural equation model. And then I would like to discuss about, after preparing your article, how to publish your article. I would like to show my Google citation index. If you can see here, depending upon the citation for your article, you will get your citation article. On the day one, we were discussing whatever you are doing as research, that should be of relevance. People should read your paper, and for reading, you should also be available in the right forum or in the right platform, right? If you are publishing in some cloned journal or in a printed journal where no one is going to read, or it is meant only for a small group of people, your work is not getting cited. Your paper will not be referred by anyone. Whatever may be your effort, that will not be giving any benefit to you. Therefore, you have to identify the right forums where you can upload your articles. There are sources like your government authorized sources are there. Vidwan is the government authorized source. This is from by Ministry of Education. So by uploading all your articles in this Vidwan portal, people, academicians and others, whoever is interested in reading your article, they will get access to your article. As and when they read your article, you will get your citation. And after their publication, and once that particular article is uploaded in Google or in the Vidwan portal, you will get your citation. Okay, so through artificial intelligence, it will automatically recognize wherever your name is appearing, and based on that, it will give you a citation index. Okay, so that is how you will get your citation. This particular article of mine is cited by this many people. And this, so as and when it becomes, if any one of the article is cited by more than 10 people, you will get I-10 index. H index is if you get more than 20 citation, that will become 2 or 3. That is your H index, depending upon the number of citations for your articles. So what are we supposed to do? Write good quality articles and upload your articles for public reference, for others reference. Where can we upload? You can upload it in ORCID, you can upload it in Web of Science, in Scopus, Edu Academia, Google Scholar. So these are all the sources where you can upload your article so that it will get cited by others. And in these portals, your official mail ID is also given, so people will know the authorization or how from where are you and what type of person you are. Even that information is known to people. So therefore, be clear with your uploading of your content or your research work. Okay, these are all some of the sources we have. Therefore, while writing your article, ensure that these parameters or these items are considered while writing your article. Ensure that you have an attractive title, which is of relevance, which people would like to read. And then you should also have an abstract for a maximum word limit of 250. Ensure that your abstract mentions about the purpose of the research, the type of research, the research design, your sample, statistical tools, whatever you have applied, and finally, what did you find out from your research work? Even that we have to give. Okay, so maximum 250 words abstract, and then keywords. Only with your keywords, your research article is being identified. Therefore, whatever is unique or whatever is the generally used terminology in your research work, no, that you can give as keywords, so that when people search easily with your keywords, they will be able to go to or refer your article. Okay, and then definitely you should have an introduction, reviews from where you have collected the data, acknowledge the previous researchers properly, otherwise it will become plagiarism. Don't copy paste the content. Okay, and then whatever may be the research gap, what others did and what your paper, how your paper is unique and different from others' paper, that we have to mention. That's called your research gap. We have to mention about it, and then prepare a conceptual model. That is your contribution to research. So far, none of them have studied about this. I'm contributing, I'm measuring the interrelationship between these variables. So that is based on your hypothesis, objectives, and the hypothesis. Research methodology. How, from where are you collecting data? How are you collecting data? The sample size. People are keen on those details. So give information about how, when, where, and then discussion and implication. Discussion on the paper, whatever may be the analysis and interpretation that need to be presented in the form of discussion and implication, and limitations, if any, in the research. Give that as limitation. It is not generally, it is restricted to Chennai or the sample size. It can be genuine limitations. I'm able to collect data only from people working in educational institutions, or people working in Chennai, or people in, I've restricted this because of these reasons, restricted to construction industry because of the type of people involved in this particular research. It can be anything. So mention your limitations clearly, and scope for future research is where people will be interested after reading your paper. What can I do? What are all the other opportunities? What do you want to do, but you are not able to do? That I will do, kind of scope for future research. And then references, all your references, whatever you have referred, that we have to give. While writing your references, there is one simple way to quote your references. 1 second. This APA format, and in Google, you have all your format readily given in your Scholar, Google Scholar. Go to Google, type Google Scholar. In Google, go to Google Scholar and go to any one of the article. Maybe I'm taking my I will take my article, workplace diversity. I did a paper and I have uploaded that. Workplace diversity. I'm just taking any one of the paper. Okay. So let's not waste our time. So here, listen. If you can go here, click this, you will get the pattern of referencing. Whether you want MLA pattern or APA pattern or Chicago pattern, you can just copy this and paste it. Simple way to do your review of literature and give your references. Okay. So this is one simple way. In Google Scholar, if you are referring your article, any article, you will have a mark like this. So this will give the format of your reference. Okay, you can copy paste this, that you can post it. So references, while giving your references, give it in the format as per the requirement of the journal. If you are looking in for APA format or Chicago format or MLA or whatever may be the format that you can use. Okay, these are all the mandatory things we have to consider. I have only the last slide in conclusion. So before concluding, I would like to check, is there any other question? Any question to anyone?
Ma'am?
Yes.
Ma'am, in case of cross-loading in factors, what we have to do, ma'am?
Cross-loading, you can decide wherever you have least value, that particular loading can be removed. Even in one of my paper yesterday, I got, it will be like, you will get loading in both the factors. It is something like, there are circumstances where one statement can go with two groups. Okay. Then the researcher had to decide, usually wherever low value is there, you will remove that particular value. You will send it to a group where more factor loading is there. Assume for this particular factor, it is having cross loading here. It is 5.17, let us assume. Okay, 527 is greater than this, so I will ignore here. I will remove this. I will decide it should go to the second group only. That depends upon the researcher. Researcher has to justify that if it is cross loading. Okay. Or you can, yeah, that is up to you. If you want to mention that in your paper, you can mention that, or otherwise also you can ignore and you can proceed with your research. That's not a big issue in terms of, if it is an interesting paper where you definitely feel that need to be mentioned, under that circumstance you can mention. That depends upon the statement.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, one more doubt. Instead of Varimax, can we use any other method, ma'am, like ProMax?
You can use, that depends upon how do you expect your result.
Okay, ma'am.
The covariance among the statements are explained. So you try with all those methods through trial and error and find out how the results are coming, and then you decide.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, is there any minimum sample size needed to run the KMO, ma'am?
To run the?
KMO, ma'am. KMO.
KMO is a measure that helps you to find out whether this particular sample size is sufficient enough for proceeding with factor analysis.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, I'm recently doing an article, ma'am.
Okay.
I collected the data through Google Form. I got only 60 responses.
Okay.
So I just tried the, I want to make a try. So I tried with it. I'm getting in the KMO result, it has, the variable is not definite.
If you have to check significance, okay, the p value you have to check. Okay. Okay, ma'am. And then you have to check this value, this KMO sampling adequacy value is there, no? Yes, if it is more than 0.8, which means it is excellent to proceed.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, if it is less than 0.6, you have to leave. You have to, that sample size is not sufficient. We have to collect more data. Once again, this depends upon this adequacy test is based on the type of response your respondents have given. If you are
Okay.
collecting from learned respondents who are
Okay.
giving information responsibly, definitely your score will be very high. If
Okay,
even
ma'am.
with lesser sample, your score will be very high. If the respondents are giving some general or generic, or if there are some respondents based by a central error or a halo error, or if some error is there, that will have an impact on this number.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much,
number.
ma'am.
If it is more than 8, it is excellent to proceed. If it is less than 0.6, please collect more data and then
Okay.
proceed with your analysis.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Any other question?
Ma'am,
Yes.
ma'am, why we are finding that standard deviation, ma'am? What is the purpose of finding the standard deviation?
In general,
Yes, ma'am.
standard deviation measure, it will give you how each and every variable is different, or how different it is from the mid value. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
I will show you. Assume your average class average is 80 marks. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Deviation from class average and the other students, how it is different from other students, that is defined by standard deviation. Assume if the standard deviation is 20 marks. Okay. Then the range of the students' marks will be starting from 60 to this side 80. Am I clear to you?
Yes, ma'am.
It shows the variation between your center, and this is your class average. Okay. The center point is your class average.
Okay, ma'am.
The plus and minus, no, that is your standard deviation. How much your other students are deviating from the standard. That shows the range.
Okay, ma'am.
So 35 to 100 is the range. Your mean mark, your class average is 86. So minimum, so the difference should be clear. Okay, I've just like that I've given these numbers. It should be given properly.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Standard deviation shows the difference between, or the deviation between mean and the other variables in the study.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Any other questions? Shall I wind up with this if there are no more questions? So,
Ma'am, one more doubt, ma'am. Sorry.
yes, no problem.
Ma'am, in case of conceptual paper, how we have to do that, ma'am? Like in case of collecting data means we know the method like research methodology, interpretation, findings, conclusion. In case of conceptual paper, how we have to write the paper, ma'am?
Conceptual paper, you have to define why are you doing that particular conceptual paper. There should be some objective, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, a concept paper can be based on identifying something. You want to consolidate in industry, assume it is based on some sales promotional techniques adopted in a particular retail outlet or in textile retailing. Okay. So
Okay,
that
ma'am.
particular concept paper will collect all possible sales promotional techniques that are used in retail industry in India and in abroad, or that will be a complete paper which will give all answers to that particular question.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay.
For that also we have to do literature review, ma'am.
You have to do literature review, only then you will understand what type of research had been carried out by others and what they found out. This particular person says in a study, this is the predominant factor, or this person says this is the influencing factor. This person says you, so that will help you to understand the topic in a better manner, and you will also be presenting a complete information on sales promotional techniques adopted in textile retailing in Chennai or in any other place.
Okay, ma'am.
Hmm?
Thank you, ma'am.
A concept paper, it's like your theoretical information on a particular thing that should give, in case if there are any regulatory mechanism on that particular topic that need to be covered, and then how industry is viewing that, and then how customers are viewing that. The complete information on a particular topic must be given in terms of conceptual paper. The why, how, descriptive, it's more of descriptive in nature. You are describing something, why, how, when. It's like your historical information where details are narrated. No, a concept paper will also give information on something. People are eagerly waiting to know about that, so you can describe about that. That's your conceptual paper.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Ma'am,
Yes.
ma'am, hello, ma'am.
Yeah, ma'am.
Ma'am, this is not a question. I have a request that since your sessions are very, very wellly explained, you explained it very well, ma'am. So I have a request that can you give some explanation on how to defend the thesis, particularly the analysis part, ma'am, statistical analysis part.
You should know why are you applying any statistical tool in your study. The why aspect of using any statistical tool, how it is applied, and what is the inference. So when we are discussing about here, when we are, I have presented my content, right? Here you will know the meaning of when we are presenting our thesis. There should be some reason or purpose for mentioning about each and every variable or statement, right? You should know why are you giving these values, what is the meaning of these values, why did you name this particular factor like this. In my viva, one of the question is it your idea? I had to defend like it's not my idea, it is based on my reviews, or based on these theories, I found out this kind of, okay. So you should know, while presenting your statistical information, you should know the meaning of each and every item that are there in your research report. Why are you using, how are you using, what is the implication of that on your interpretation? That information, if you can know, you can easily defend any question. You can easily defend. And beyond everything, sometimes we are all human being, we may even miss out on certain things. You can definitely tell them, this is out of the scope of my study, I will definitely learn that and do that in the next paper, whatever I'm going to present, kind of. Accept whatever may be the question and try to give the right answer. Be prepared for whatever you are writing. Whatever word is there in your thesis or in your PPT or in your presentation, you should know the meaning of it. There should be a reason for using any word or term or any item in your research. So know that when you are presenting it. So those who have done research on their own, they will find it easy and simple to defend their thesis. That will be like a cakewalk for them. Once again, it's like McGregor's theory X and theory Y people only. Theory Y people will love doing research and they will love doing defending. They want more questions to be asked. Only that will get the best out of themselves, right? So that is how we have to view. So while defending, accept whatever may be the question and try to give the right answer. If you don't know the answer, you can tell them, this is out of the scope of my research. I will consider that it's a valid input. This I will definitely incorporate in the other papers, whatever I'm going to present or publish. That can be your answer. And I have seen in some of the forums, the host and the paper presenters arguing with some of the points, and there is no need to argue in research. It is their research. That is how they are presenting their content. If something is wrong statistically, you can point out instead of this, you can do the right type of tool or technique, or that can be given as a suggestion. So always don't go in for any kind of, as a host or as an audience when you're attending some program, don't argue with any researcher. If you want to find out an answer for any question, you can ask them politely. People will definitely respond to the right type of questions in the right manner. So being prepared is the key to success. That's the way to defend your thesis.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am?
The conclusion for today's session or the last 2-3 days session, the entire research work is not based on your statistics alone. It is based on the objectives of the study. The why do you want to study? What do you want to study? Only that will tell you what type of statistical tool we have to use. It's like you have fever and you want to use some standard generic medicine kind of. First of all, you have to find out what type of fever, diagnose it, use the right type of test, and then go for identifying what is the fever and what type of medicines can be given. So for all the fever, we can't be using the standard kind of medicines or testing kind of, right? The same thing is there in social science also. So be clear with your objectives. Then, depending upon the ability of the researcher, whatever is possible, wherever he will be able to collect the data, they can restrict the scope of it. There's no need to go in for an international level at the college level or at the school level or at the state level or at the city level or at any particular level. Depending upon the ability of the researcher can definitely do some research. Indian case studies are very, very highly demanded case studies. You can mention about what is happening in your community. You can mention about your paper can talk about something happening in your local area, or something like yesterday I saw some temple doing some promotional activities. I thought of writing something on temple economics, how temple marketing is happening and how people are promoting certain celebrations that are going to come this week, and how that is promoting some kind of economic activity in and around that particular area kind of, right? So whatever is happening around you, what is in your ability, that you can write it as an article and that you can present it. So that's once again based on your ability. Don't go in for assuming big things, and do interesting, simple things that make sense to others. And then once again, that depends upon the time available for your research work. So whatever time you have with that, you do, and the purpose of the research or the scope of the research can never be compromised for the any limitations that are there with the researcher kind of resources available in terms of your SPSS. And today I am discussing about SPSS. It doesn't mean SPSS is the only tool for analysis. There are a lot of open source tools. There is something called Jamovi. Jamovi has all these features that are there in SPSS. SPSS is a paid software, but Jamovi is a free open source software. You can download that. You can use the same way, however you have learned it in SPSS today. In the same way, you can apply that in Jamovi also. It's a free software. So identify those things, and beyond everything, I sincerely believe for research, you should have passion for research. Only if you love doing research, you'll be able to justify doing a paper or an article. Okay. So this is my concluding remark. And with this, I thank Kanika Parameshwari College, the presiding deity, and the other management and staff for considering me and giving me this opportunity. Thank you very much. And my sincere thanks to all the participants for patiently listening to me and putting forth the right type of questions to make the session as interesting as possible. Thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Thank you. Nice presentation.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am, for spending valuable time with us. I feel this session is very informative to all of us, and you answer everyone's question very patiently. And once again, yeah, thank ma'am. Yeah, and from everyone, I got a good feedback for wonderful session, ma'am. Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Thank
And
you.
yes, ma'am. And I request all the participants to fill the overall feedback form tomorrow without fail. Okay, please fill the overall feedback form and join the tomorrow session. Thank you, participants, for your cooperation. Thank you, everyone. And please, everyone, join the video, switch on your video for a photo session. I kindly request everyone to switch on your video for photo session?
I'll stop sharing my screen.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Is the screen still getting shared, Ma?
Shall I leave the meet?
Feedback.